9% of items in Minecraft are limited resources. If you destroy one of these items, even something as abundant as deep slate, your world would forever have one less of that resource. If you managed to destroy every copy of one of these items, it would become extinct from your world forever. Here is a list of all of them. Take good care of them. The other 91% of items are renewable, minus a small slice which weren't obtainable in the first place. These are all the items that you can farm, which makes them a lot harder to erase from a world. Most of them can grow or spawn from basically nothing. Even a player alone in the Skyblock map has far more resources than just wood and cobblestone if they know how to play. You know, stone gets you stone brick variants, logs allow you to make torches, a mob farm makes skeletons and zombies that provide you new crops, passive mobs start to spawn, the nether gives you gold for curing zombie villagers, and slowly the palette of farmable resources grows more and more colorful. But try as you may, there's still plenty of renewables that Skyblock will never see, though it gets pretty close. And I want to do something about that because I see Skyblock challenge worlds the same way that I see escape rooms. It's all about using wits and your knowledge of the game to get the most use out of your very scarce resources. Surrounded by nothing but bedrock, surrounded by the void, what's the difference? Well, for one, the Skyblock map gives you way more than you actually need. It's like they're trying to do good game design or something, those nerds. So before deciding what we'd want to add, let's see what we can remove. Many YouTubers like Jokey Pokey and Pinu have shown how even a world with one grass block and nothing else can grow into its own vibrant palette of farms, assuming the block starts at the right height, in the right biome, in the right game difficulty. But still, it's one of those amazing Minecraft challenges that some YouTubers get inspired to take on and some like to pretend they came up with themselves. And what makes it possible is literally just foxes and wandering traders. It is incredible how far you can get in Minecraft with the 1% chance a fox has to spawn with an emerald in its mouth, which can be slowly funneled into wandering traders to unlock infinite amounts of their whole supply. Almost every plant, everything that comes from sand, every overworld wood type, and everything that branches off of these, including variants of dirt and terracotta. That is more than half the items in the game from just one. But even this world doesn't even include cobblestone. So much, but so little. Here's where it gets interesting. If you've ever seen anyone do this challenge, they get their stone by stealing a lava source from a stronghold portal room that everyone who does this challenge conveniently pastes into their worlds to make it a bit more fun.
The light bulb came on. I had a genius idea. That room generates with lava in it.
I guess great minds think alike. But forget about the portal room. Watch what happens when you just add one lava bucket to this world. Just lava and a grass block. Suddenly, the variety of renewable resources is now just as diverse as regular Skyblock. If that seems unlikely, consider this. In terms of raw, fundamental resources, the only thing this world was really missing was a source of stone and a source of obsidian. Practically all the other decorative stuff you can think of can already be given to you by wandering traders, including pointed dripstone, one of only 3 items needed to turn one lava source into infinite lava. The second item is the lava itself, and the third is cauldrons. Though extreme Skyblock players already have cauldrons for collecting rainwater, you of course get the iron from zombies. So really, adding one lava bucket to this world means infinite lava, means generating cobblestone, means access to the nether, which means the entire piglin bartering loot table, and so on. For more proof of this, see how every piece of the Skyblock 2.1 map, that was the final version ever made, can be rebuilt using resources we either preserved or now have access to. All from one block, one item, and one biome. That's like 3 things, and if it's that easy to make 73% of the items in the game obtainable, this makes you think, how many things do you need to be able to obtain all 83%? The most basic, emptiest, minimalist world possible that can still provide you every single renewable resource. The answer is 35. First of all, don't worry, we're not going to go all ontological with the definition of thing. I'm going to consider a world with no items, blocks, biomes anywhere as a world with 0 things. The only reason I didn't ask how many blocks and items do you need is because you need more than just items and blocks. You need biomes! Skyblock and most of its spin-offs don't ever have to worry about this question because they're not actually void worlds. They're made by clearing out the existing terrain so every biome is still there, they're just invisible. But I still want to see how few we really need. They're just a lesser priority. So if we want, say, frog lights, and I have to pick between setting a swamp biome in our world for frogs to spawn in, or giving the player frog spawn the item, if it's one thing total either way, I'm going to pick the biome because it feels less thingy. Priority 1 is minimizing blocks and items, priority 2 is biomes. And structures. Yeah, there's a 4th category now, because if you want, say, prismarine shards and crystals, there's no amount of blocks or items or biomes that are gonna give you them. You need an ocean monument. Lucky for us, we don't need the ocean. or the monument. If you've ever made a prismarine farm, you know that guardians still spawn after the monument is cleared out. That's because if you put on your X-ray glasses, you will see that what remains is the bounding box. It's what defines ocean monumentness, and it spawns guardians. So that is the thing we want. Let's just throw one of those into our void world. Don't ask me how to place road structure bounding boxes, by the way. I don't know how. If I told you how I got this one here, you would be very disappointed. Now, there's one other structure we need, and you might be able to guess it. It is, of course, the Nether Fortress, our only source of blaze rods, wither skulls, and Minecraft's only source of renewable coal. But that's really it. 2 structures, and everything else we need can be farmed from the remaining 3 categories. So now, let's see how much we can get away with by just placing biomes. Alright, imagine someone broke into your Minecraft world and deleted every biome. Would there be any items that suddenly become unfarmable? Yes, here's all of them. In other words, they're gonna need biomes first. Though I should confess, it's impossible for a world to have no biomes, so when I say that, I just mean it's the void biome. The only biome in Minecraft that doesn't spawn naturally, and doesn't naturally spawn any mobs. So this list doesn't tell the full story, because you could theoretically have pre-placed mobs that you can breed and interact with, but I'm not just gonna add free mobs to a minimalist world, let alone the entirety of Noah's Ark, so for our purposes, we need biomes for those guys' resources as well. But it gets worse. This world won't have pre-placed piglins either, you'll have to get those to spawn naturally, but you're gonna realize a strange secret about Minecraft if you visit the nether of this world. Piglins do not spawn in the nether. Like almost every mob in the game, they spawn in biomes that just happen to be in a given dimension, but could be placed anywhere. For example, you could place a Crimson Forest in the end or the overworld, and hoglins and piglins would spawn just fine. They just immediately zombify because it's the overworld, which is kind of funny to watch. Point is, if piglins depend on a biome in this world, so too will every renewable resource that depends on piglin bartering. This list is only getting worse. So, to be as efficient as possible, it's going to be important to look for the weak links, the oddballs, like goat horns, which can only be farmed from goats, armadillo scute from armadillos, bucket of axolotls from axolotls, ghast tears from ghasts. That last one is special because of all the biomes that ghasts can spawn in, one of them can also spawn piglins, the nether wastes. If we tossed one of those into our world next to our nether fortress, we would take care of our need for ghast resources and also automatically deal with the entire piglin bartering list. Maybe I didn't have to waste my time editing that. Doesn't matter, I just realized another important thing. Our world needs wandering traders for a ton of valuable stuff, but they depend on biomes too. Ergo, so does every renewable item that depends on the existence of traders. Well, let's continue looking for the weak links, such as armadillo scute. Now this one's an easy one because armadillos can only spawn in variants of Badlands, which do not provide us anything helpful, and variants of savannas, which spawn every other passive mob we needed, so that's clearly the optimal pick. Let's add one of those. Hold on, why do I hear that sound? Oh, okay. When I said wandering traders depend on biomes, they can actually spawn in every biome except the void, and they're actually not like other mobs. They do only spawn in the overworld, so with the savannah added, they're automatically accounted for too. Maybe this is why I never upload. Anyway, next up is goat horns. Goats have 3 biome options, which are basically identical, but the snowy slopes can also spawn rabbits, which we still need apparently, so rabbits will get to share the snowy slopes with snow and goats. Finally, let's take care of the obvious, all this coral, which as any TNT duping enjoyer knows, can only be grown underwater in a warm ocean. And it feels weird to add a whole biome just for basically one thing, but it's not just for coral. This is our only way to get naturally spawned drowns with tridents. I just didn't put tridents on the list. The reason why, you will find out soon. But look at that, the entire list is done. Except for bucket of axolotls, which only spawn in lush caves? Yeah, this is how it's gonna be now. If you were going for fewest biomes possible, it only takes 3. You'll need a biome for ghasts, any biome where you can collect snow and ice, and then a warm ocean. The rest of the biomes I'm going to add will be trade-offs, most of which will be very small, like the example I mentioned earlier. We need frog spawn or a swamp, so I'm picking the swamp. It's pretty easy to see how the same can be done with turtles, our only source of scute. They spawn naturally in beaches, so this world doesn't need turtle eggs. The player also doesn't need bamboo, because bamboo can just appear in a jungle biome. Well, kind of. If you go fishing in a jungle, you have a 1% chance of just receiving bamboo. So check that off the list. Mojang got even lazier with pink petals. Yeah, you can obtain them by bone mealing pink petals that you already have, or you can go to a cherry grove biome and just bone meal the ground. Can't believe I'm adding a whole new biome just for petals, but finally, last item on the list, emeralds. Foxes. Okay, here's the thing. I know how painful it is to wait for the super rare chance for a fox to spawn with an emerald, because I did it. And we don't need foxes for emeralds, right? There are other sources. If you're watching this video in the future, the Wandering Trader rebalance might be out, which just makes Wandering Traders a source of emeralds themselves, but that's not out yet. The only other way to get them out here would be villagers, which would require golden apples to cure, and hey, Zeus can give you gold if you sacrifice the right mob, which is great, but he can't give you apples. The only way you're getting apples is from oak or dark oak trees, which comes from wandering traders who want emeralds. It's a deadly circle. We could add any one item on this list into our world, but that would be adding one extra item, at which point I may as well just add the biome instead. So I have no choice but to keep the taiga and its painful 1% chance of spawning an emerald fox. Curse my insistence on minimizing items. Fortunately, there might be a way out of this later. For now, there's still plenty of really weird renewables that we still can't get yet. Here's all of them. They are items that can't be obtained from natural mob spawning, including trading with villagers, traders, and piglins, but also can't be obtained with the help of any more biomes. That means we're finished with those, with 10 total. I'm actually slightly lying. This list doesn't include lava, and everything that branches off of it, and everything you craft with cobblestone, everything you need a furnace for, and while we're at it, every item we expect to get access to in the nether. All of these items are not going to be farmable in this world until we add lava. In fact, these are the exact items that make the difference between what's obtainable in Skyblock versus the one block world, which we've already discussed is a lot, so I don't think I have to try hard to argue that Lava Bucket will be the first item added to this world. Alright, now here's every item left for real this time, and you might start to realize something. Wandering Traders definitely carried in terms of all the diversity of plant life, but only for the overworld. We currently have no source of crimson and warped wood. The bad news is these trees can only grow if they have their respective color of Nilium, so we definitely need those two blocks. And Nilium has a tiny chance of becoming useless netherrack the same way grass becomes dirt if you don't break the block that grew on top of it fast enough, which is definitely sketchy, but I'm not giving you extra netherrack in case you mess up. What do I look like, a redundancy enjoyer? The good news is Nilium is pretty overpowered. Bone mealing it gives you basically all plant life in the nether, including the two kinds of fungi that become the two trees we need. They even have a small chance of growing twisty vines, and crimson trees naturally grow with weeping vines already included. Obviously, we expect to get bone meal from natural skeleton spawns, so these two blocks take care of the whole nether, except for netherwort, which can only be produced from itself, so we'll have to add netherwort to the list of items as well. As for the soul sand to grow it on, that'll be provided once you get around to piglin bartering. No point in giving you an item if you can get it yourself. It's a similar situation to chorus plants, which we can't obtain by doing anything clever. We kinda just need a chorus flower to start out with, but similar to netherwort, you might think we're going to need the block to plant it on, but we don't. Endstone can be obtained naturally under the end exit portal as the dragon respawns, or fails to, which, fun fact, since regenerating endstone requires end crystals, which are crafted from gas tiers, that's why I listed this under resources that technically require a biome to farm. All we really need aside from that is a way to get into the end dimension in the first place. Now, I could give the player 12 end portal frames, but why do that when I can just place one end portal block? That's actually the very first block in this world so far, and we can't even stand on it, so this world is still technically unplayable. Of course, I'll fix that soon. But even the end exit portal doesn't exist in this world, of course, since it doesn't need to be there. You can still place the end crystals to resummon the dragon based off of where it would be, and it'll reappear along with the dragon in the end stone. You want to know what doesn't naturally spawn in the end? Shulkers. They only generate when you first load in end cities, which our world doesn't have. The reason they're renewable is because when a shulker is hit by a shulker bullet, they have a small chance of duplicating. So we'll kinda need one shulker spawn egg to start out, which you can get to hit itself and gradually dupe into more. Ordinary behavior. That takes care of all the shulker items, and now it's very clear that we have no source of skulk or amethyst, both of which have very unique sources. Everything amethyst can be obtained with one budding amethyst block, which just grows crystal unconditionally, so that's pretty easy. As for everything skulk, that can all be grown from a skulk catalyst. Except for more catalysts. For that, we're gonna need wardens, which spawn from shriekers. Now, of course, you can grow shriekers from the catalyst we started with, but not the kind that spawn wardens. The ones that catalysts grow are basically fake ones. For a true source of skulk, we need a natural, legitimate skulk shrieker, which means that's our second place block in the world. Yay! Now you have something to stand on. Don't worry though, wardens aren't gonna spawn if you don't place any blocks, so you're safe. Just don't Place anything. Looking at what's left, it's clear we'll need a sniffer. They're the only mob that provides you torch flowers and pitcher plants, so we can add a sniffer egg. But wait, we also need a source of renewable sniffer eggs, which means we actually have to Noah's Ark this one. They need to breed to lay more eggs, so it takes 2. I do think that it would be wrong to call 2 sniffer eggs one thing just because they stack, so I'm not gonna do that. But what I will call one thing is my next creation. Minecraft's only source of breeze rods is the breeze, and trial spawners are the only source of trial keys. So I put them together. Now we have a breeze spawner, which generates naturally in the real game, so I think it's pretty clearly one thing. It's one block. Now we don't have to start this world on a Skulk Shrieker anymore. We can spawn on this. I don't know if this is much better. This is also a renewable source of cobwebs, but I'll leave that as an exercise for the viewer to figure out why. Next, a creaking heart would take care of all the resin variants that we need, though a creaking heart can be crafted with a resin block, so I think I'll give that to the player instead, because having more recollectible blocks are better for the early game, and either one would work. And as usual, I'm not going to provide you the logs when you can get those from a wandering trader later. Eventually. Next up, we still need the grass block, but not just to grow more grass. I didn't really make this clear on the list, but technically we kinda need grass for, most passive mobs to spawn, so it's pretty important. And with the grass block added to the list, that leaves 9 items left. And guys, what if I told you that all 9 of these items can be obtained from the same source? Themselves. I hate them. Each of these items can only come from themselves and only produce themselves. These 5 can just be duped with bone meal. These 3 just naturally grow. I will admit cocoa beans technically are the exception since they do have crafts, but in this particular world you can already get cookies from villagers and brown dye from wandering traders, so cocoa beans don't really have much of a use. Traders can give you cocoa beans in Bedrock Edition, but not Java, so we'll have to add them to this world for their own sake, just like the others. Our last one being mycelium. Only here to grow more mycelium. Thank you, mycelium. And there you have it. 20 items and 3 blocks. Add that to the 10 biomes and 2 structures, and we have 35 things that can let you farm every renewable resource. Except for 27 of them. You thought this was over? Ever since 1.21, the list of renewable resources has become sketchy simply because of vaults. Vaults can reward items that we don't have in our world yet, like diamonds and heavy cores and enchanted golden apples. Once a player opens a given vault with its respective key, they can never open that vault again, but other players still can. Each player gets 1 chance at each vault. But here's the kicker. Vaults can only remember 128 unique people. If a 129th player opens the vault, it adds them onto the list of players who have opened it, and then forgets the first player, which means the same player can open it twice. And if they did so, it would forget the second player, and so on. Which is great! New renewable items! My original plan was to include this, at least for the I have more than 128 friends edition of this map. It would require adding 2 new things, each kind of vault, since you do need both vaults to get access to the full palette, but they both reward golden apples, which is now a much easier way to get emeralds, meaning I could finally remove the taiga. So the net effect is you only need 36 things. That's not bad, and anything crafted with diamonds could be renewable now. Your jukeboxes, your enchanting table, and every armor trim, which only come from themselves! They're in their own crafting recipe. More items that only exist for themselves, but they have to be added because they're renewable. But hey, at least 2 of them come from the vaults, and 3 of them require non-renewable resources, so they wouldn't be in this world anyway. So it's not 18 practically useless items to fill your inventory with, it's only 13, for a grand total of 49 things. Hey, I mean, at least it gives a better block to spawn on. Honestly, I do not like this. If we just removed all these self-serving items, it would only be like 27. That's only 16 items and blocks, but these items just make it so inconvenient. And if we're being completely honest, you don't have 129 friends. So I decided if I was going to make this a real Minecraft map, which I did do, I would make both the